Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
The cockpit was a cacophony of alarms and flashing lights, the kind of desperate symphony that every astronaut dreads. Jacob gripped the controls of the shuttle, staring out at the sprawling expanse of alien sky. The colors were unlike anything he'd ever seen on Earth, deep purple blending seamlessly with brilliant emerald. His mission had begun as a routine exploration of uncharted territories, but now, as he felt the shuttle shudder and buck, he was thrown into chaos. "Mayday, mayday!" He screamed into the communicator, but the static drowned his voice. He could feel the gravitational pull of the planet yanking him downward. In an instant, his training kicked in. He initiated the emergency protocols, bracing himself for impact. With a resounding crash, the shuttle met the ground with a violent jolt, skidding across the rough terrain before finally coming to a halt in the dense foliage of an untouched island. Silence enveloped him like a shroud, broken only by the dying whir of the engines. Jacob blinked against the bright light, filtering through the cracked cockpit window. Dazed and disoriented, he managed to unfasten his seatbelt, shaking off the shock. Pain radiated from his shoulder. It felt bruised, but, thankfully, nothing appeared broken. Struggling to his feet, he looked around the remnants of his craft. Instruments lay shattered, the console charred. His heart sank, communications were down, and he was utterly alone. He crawled out of the wreck, the crisp air filling his lungs with the scent of damp earth and something sweet he couldn't quite place. The island thrummed with life. Towering trees reached for the sky, their leaves shimmering in hues of blue and silver. However, beneath its beauty, an underlying tension lingered, the feeling that he was not welcome. Jacob took cautious steps away from the wreckage. He found himself on the edge of a vibrant jungle that seemed to pulse with unfiltered energy. He heard rustling in the dense brush, and instinctively, he crouched low, heart racing. That's when he saw them, the Zarthari. Emerging from the foliage, a group of striking women strode forward, their features both wild and ethereal. They were tall and athletically built, skin glistening with iridescent patterns that shifted in the sunlight. Dark hair flowed around them like liquid night, and their piercing eyes locked onto Jacob with a mix of curiosity and contempt. Their language resonated in melodic tones, flowing like water. Jacob's pulse quickened, realizing he was completely at their mercy. He knew of the Zarthari, rumors woven from fragments of the galaxy's tales, a fierce matriarchal tribe known for their ruthlessness toward humans. "Please, I mean no harm." Jacob raised his hands, panic slicing through him. The women halted, varying expressions playing across their faces. One stepped forward, her presence commanding. Their leader. She was beautiful yet intimidating, a magnetic aura swirling around her, with dark hair cascading over her shoulders like a cloak of shadows. She gazed at him with intensity. "Human," she began, her voice low and captivating. "Why have you invaded our territory?" Jacob's heart raced. He had no answers. All he could do was hope to survive long enough to find a way home. Tension hung thick in the air as Jacob faced the Zarthari. Their leader, Narration, stepped closer, her eyes narrowing, studying him like a predator assessing its prey. "You carry the stench of your kind," she declared, her voice a melodic growl. "You invade our land, and yet you dare plead for mercy?" Every instinct screamed at Jacob to flee, but his feet felt rooted to the spot. "I crash-landed here. I didn't choose this," he blurted out, desperation seeping into his tone. Narina's expression shifted for a brief moment. Was it surprise? Before it vanished, replaced by an unwavering fierceness. Around her, the other Zarthari watched, their posture rigid, prepared for any indication of threat. They seemed both beautiful and fearsome, a juxtaposition he found fascinating yet utterly terrifying. Days blurred into each other as Jacob remained under the watchful eyes of his captors. Attempts to right his shuttle yielded little success. Even if he managed to repair it, he doubted he could escape unnoticed. Instead, he learned to navigate their society, albeit from a safe distance. Each sunrise brought him a new set of challenges. He had to adapt to an existence he'd never anticipated, surrounded by alien warriors. The Zarthari spoke among themselves in fluid, lilting tones, and every now and then, Jacob would catch snippets of their language, words that felt like music, yet were laced with a stone-cold edge. He spent his days scavenging for food, using his survival skills to gather fruits and roots. Watching the Zarthari from afar, he found himself drawn to how they moved through their domain, how they hunted and foraged, their agility and strength a true testament to their warrior spirit. It was mesmerizing until they spotted him, and that fascination turned into resentment, their hostility palpable. As the week wore on, Jacob's curiosity about Narina only deepened. She often led the others during training, her sharp commands echoing in the forest. One evening, while gathering food, Jacob inadvertently stumbled into a clearing where the Zarthari were honing their skills, practicing combat techniques with spears that glinted like stars. Momentarily caught up in the display, he marveled at their precision. They were unbelievably synchronized, moving like a single unit, their laughter intertwining with the sounds of the forest. Realizing he had drawn too close, he quickly turned to retreat, but the ground betrayed him. A root snagged his foot, sending him sprawling into the underbrush. The sound of his fall shattered the air, and the Zarthari whirled around. In an instant, he was surrounded, spears pointed in his direction. Heart thundering, he raised his hands again, hoping to show he meant no harm. "What are you doing here, human?" Narina's voice cut through the tense atmosphere, both accusatory and laced with disbelief. She strode forward, her stance commanding. I didn't mean to intrude. I just wanted to watch," he stammered, embarrassment flooding over him along with fear. "I'm sorry." Narina's gaze remained unyielding, assessing him, her anger simmering just beneath the surface. "Your kind does not belong here. This is our land, and we do not take kindly to trespassers." "I can leave," Jacob insisted, his heart racing. "Just tell me how. I don't wish to be a threat to you or your people." Her expression softened slightly, though the resolve in her eyes remained. "Do you think we will allow you to roam free after invading our territory? Trust is not easily given here." Jacob swallowed hard. Every moment spent pleading for understanding felt like a bridge forming between them, yet lined with barbed wire. "I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust. Help me, and I won't cause you any more trouble." The corner of Narina's mouth twitched in what could have been the faintest ghost of a smile. "Words hold little weight among my people. You must prove your worth." As the standoff lingered, Jacob realized that this was more than just a threat. It was a challenge. He could either cower or face the trials ahead with courage, and perhaps win the respect of these formidable women. But it would take time. Trust would be earned through actions, not pleas. The Zarthari looked at him with a mixture of wariness and curiosity, and Jacob felt the tide change, if only slightly. If he was to survive, he would have to immerse himself in their world, and perhaps, just perhaps, find a way to bridge the chasm between human and Zarthari. Jacob awoke the next day to the sound of rustling leaves and the distant call of alien birds. The sunlight filtered through the canopy above, illuminating the jungle in dappled light. He took a deep breath, reminding himself of his resolve to earn the Zarthari's trust. The previous day's encounter had left him shaken, yet a flicker of determination burned within him. He wandered away from his makeshift camp, pacing along the edge of a stream that wound through the lush greenery. The sound of water flowing over rocks was soothing, a sharp contrast to the tension that had permeated his interactions with the Zarthari. He needed to find food, not just for himself, but to contribute to the tribe. It was time to show them he was not a burden, but someone who could help them. As Jacob gathered fruits and identified edible plants, he felt a sense of satisfaction. He was no longer just a human lost on an alien world. He was a survivor, and he was determined to fit in. Filled with newfound energy, he made his way back toward the clearing where the Zarthari usually trained, hoping to find Narina. However, as he approached, his heart sank. The clearing was alive with activity, but it was hardly an idyllic scene. The Zarthari were engaged in frantic preparation, stringing together makeshift traps and gathering weapons. The air buzzed with urgency and fear. Jacob's heart raced as he stepped into view, causing heads to turn. "What's happening?" he called out, trying to mask the uncertainty in his voice. Narina emerged from the shadows, her features hard with determination. "We are preparing for an attack. There's a beast that has entered our territory, a creature bent on destruction. We must defend our home." A chill gripped Jacob. An attack? What kind of creature? She glanced at him, her expression unreadable. "A large predator, faster than anything you could comprehend. It has stalked our island, killing some of our kind. I can help." Jacob blurted out without thinking. In that moment of panic, courage surged through him. "I know how to hunt and track. I can." "Your kind is not known for your strength in the wild," Narina interrupted sharply, crossing her arms. "This is not a game, human. Lives are at stake." Desperation clawed at him. "But if you don't let me try, everyone will be at risk. I may have a different perspective. I know techniques that could be useful." Narina hesitated, conflicted. After moments that felt like a lifetime, she sighed, visibly softening. "Very well. Demonstrate your abilities. But know this. If you put my people in danger, there will be consequences." Jacob nodded earnestly. "I promise I won't fail you." The preparations continued, and Jacob found himself swept into a frenzy of activity. Under Narina's supervision, he fashioned traps from the surrounding jungle materials, honing his skills with a sense of purpose that ignited a spark of acceptance among the Zarthari. They watched cautiously, their skepticism palpable, but the atmosphere began to shift as Jacob's determination and expertise flourished under their scrutiny. When dusk finally cloaked the island, a thick tension settled in the air. They positioned themselves near the edge of the clearing, with Jacob's traps hidden beneath leaves and debris. Jacob stood beside Narina, whose eyes remained fixed on the trees as the shadows lengthened. "They say the beast is like a shadow, made of rage and hunger," she said, her voice low and laden with gravity. "Stay alert." The night deepened, the sounds of the jungle morphing into an eerie silence. Heart pounding, Jacob clutched a spear, his senses heightened. Hours seemed to pass in agonizing stillness until suddenly a rustle broke the quiet. The Zarthari tensed, and Jacob's grip on the spear tightened. Without warning, the beast lunged into the clearing, a massive creature, a nightmarish blend of fur and sinew, its eyes glowing like embers. It charged, teeth bared in a primal snarl. Heart racing, Jacob instinctively hurled his spear, striking true. The creature let out a bone-chilling roar, but it barely slowed. "Fall back," Narina commanded, drawing her own weapon. The Zarthari surged forward, attacking as a unified force, but Jacob could see their efforts were faltering against the beast's ferocity. Then, in a sudden, chaotic moment, the beast locked onto Jacob, its instincts picking him out as a target. It lunged, jaws snapping inches from him, and he stumbled backward, adrenaline surging through him like fire. In that moment of chaos, anger sparked within him. He knew he couldn't just stand by and let fear guide him. "Help me," he shouted, desperate for support as he quickly regained his footing alongside the others. With every ounce of resolve, Jacob grabbed another spear from a Zarthari warrior beside him. They formed a circle, weapons ready, and worked together as one unit. Jacob spotted an opening as the beast shifted, its attention splitting among them. He took a deep breath and made the decision to attack. "Now," Jacob shouted, trusting that his instincts were right. He charged forward, aiming his spear for the creature's exposed flank. With the combined might of the Zarthari surrounding him, they struck at once. The force of their attack caught the beast by surprise, sending it howling back into the shadows. The skirmish continued, but they had gained the upper hand. Jacob felt the thrill of victory coursing through him as he worked alongside the Zarthari, each of them adapting seamlessly to one another's rhythms. Their voices rang out, commands volleying back and forth, a blend of human and alien cooperation fueling the fight. Finally, after a relentless struggle, combining their strengths, they managed to drive the creature into one of the traps Jacob had set. It struggled briefly before becoming still, its glow extinguished. Silence fell over the clearing, the atmosphere shifting from tension to disbelief. Breathless, Jacob turned, eyes locked on Narina, who stood apart from the group, watching him with a mixture of admiration and incredulity. "You fought with courage," she said, the edge of respect glowing in her voice. "We fought together," he replied, feeling an unfamiliar warmth unfurling in his chest. "We're stronger as a team." As the moonlight bathed them in an ethereal glow, Jacob sensed the beginnings of an unbreakable bond forming. It was more than just survival. It was a promise of partnership, an opening into the depths of their worlds. With the night's danger behind them, Jacob had not only faced the beast lurking in the shadows, but had also taken his first step into the light of understanding with the Zarthari. And in that bond lay the seeds of acceptance, slowly pushing through the soil of animosity that had long stood between their two worlds. In the days following the victorious battle against the beast, a tangible shift occurred in the dynamics of Jacob's life on the island. The Zarthari, who had once viewed him through a lens of suspicion and hostility, began to accept him as one of their own. The transformation was gradual, marked by exchanged glances and shared laughter as they worked together in the wake of the threat they had overcome. Jacob devoted himself to learning their ways, immersing himself in their culture. He spent afternoons alongside the warriors, practicing combat techniques, not only to defend himself, but to earn the respect of those who had now welcomed him. Each training session brought him closer to the Zarthari, particularly to Narina, who watched his progress with an ever-growing sense of pride. One evening, Jacob found himself sitting around a fire with the Zarthari. They laughed and shared stories, Jacob recounting tales of Earth, while they spoke of their legends, ancient battles fought between their tribes and other creatures in the vastness of the galaxy. Their voices danced in the air, weaving connections between their worlds that had once felt impossibly distant. However, as the days turned into weeks, Jacob felt something deeper growing within him, a desire that stirred during quiet moments between them. He found himself captivated not only by their strength and beauty, but also by the richness of their culture and the fierce loyalty they displayed toward one another. It was during one of these evenings, as the stars twinkled above like scattered diamonds, that Jacob first caught a glimpse of the mating rituals of the Zarthari. He had seen their hunting practices and combat training, but the air was charged with something different tonight, an energy that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. The gathering was intimate, with only the strongest and most respected members of the tribe present. Jacob watched as the Zarthari adorned themselves in intricate patterns of natural dyes, the designs representing stories of valor and history, tracing the lines of their bodies. Narina stood at the center, her presence the embodiment of power and grace. When the ceremonial drumming began, deep and rhythmic, the women began to move in unison, their bodies flowing like water, each step deliberate, each motion imbued with a purpose that resonated in Jacob's chest. His heart raced as he absorbed the beauty of the ritual, watching the firelight dance across their silhouettes. As the night deepened, a sense of intimacy enveloped the gathering. Eager to understand, Jacob found himself drawn closer to the circle. The weaving of movements seemed to echo through time, connecting generations of Zarthari women in celebration of their strength and unity. "Narina," he called out, unable to extinguish the curiosity bubbling within him. "What is this ritual for?" She turned to him, her expression softening. "It is a celebration of our strength, of women who choose a mate. It is about connection between our bodies, our spirits, and our world." The admission sent a rush of warmth through Jacob. "Do you choose a mate in this way?" he asked hesitantly, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Narina's gaze held his steady, an intensity sparking between them. "Yes, but it is not solely about mating. It is about understanding, acceptance, and honor. It is seen as a union of strengths, two becoming one to forge a future." Jacob swallowed, aware of the implications. He felt more than just a guest in their world. Here, he was beginning to see that his own humanity could weave into their lives in ways he hadn't dared imagine. The thought filled him with a fervor he hadn't anticipated. He wanted to be part of their world, to be woven into the very fabric of their existence. As the ritual continued, the energy heightened, and Jacob noticed the subtle glances exchanged between Narina and himself. Their eyes locked, unspoken words hanging heavy in the air, weaving strands of connection that pulsed with possibility. In that moment, he realized he was captivated not just by the spectacle of the ritual, but by the woman at its core. With a spirit ignited by newfound courage, Jacob stepped forward, breaking the boundary between him and the Zarthari. He reached out, entwining his fingers with Narina's, a gesture that surprised both of them. The moment hung suspended, charged with electricity, as the rhythmic drumming swelled, evoking a primal energy that resonated deeply within them. "What are you doing?" Narina whispered, her expression a blend of confusion and intrigue. Yet beneath it, there was a spark of understanding. "I want to join you, to honor what you've created," Jacob replied, sincerity weighing heavily in his words. "I want to understand this bond you speak of." Narina held his gaze, searching for something: permission, acceptance, perhaps even potential. Her answer was not in words, but in the way her grip tightened around his, affirming the connection they had formed over the weeks. The ritual pulsed around them, an unyielding rhythm anchoring Jacob's heart to this moment. He felt the firelight dancing not just on their skin, but igniting a fierce longing. For the first time since he had crash-landed, he embraced the reality that he wasn't merely surviving. He was beginning to belong. As the night unfurled, Jacob and Narina stood entwined, surrounded by the Zarthari, their connection blossoming amidst laughter and dance. The boundaries of their worlds began to blur, and Jacob realized that this union was only the beginning. In that embrace, he could feel the currents of change sweeping through both him and the tribe, swirling with the promise of adventure, acceptance, and love. With every heartbeat, the rift between human and Zarthari diminished, hinting at the new possibilities that awaited. The days following the ritual were filled with an air of optimism and vitality that invigorated both Jacob and the Zarthari tribe. In the warmth of the shared experiences and renewed connections, they found a rhythm that brought a sense of harmony to their interactions. Jacob felt a profound sense of belonging, having crossed the boundaries of fear and doubt that had once isolated him. With each sunrise, Jacob joined the other Zarthari in their daily endeavors, hunting, gathering, and training. Under Narina's guidance, he honed his combat skills, learning the nuances of their techniques while infusing them with his own ingenuity. The lines between human and alien blurred, their camaraderie flourishing as he adopted their ways, and they embraced his presence. One afternoon, Jacob stood at the water's edge, staring out at the vast expanse of the ocean. He had grown fond of this strange island, with its beauty woven into each sunset and hidden in its shadows. Yet he could not shake the lingering thoughts of returning home. The yearning for Earth mingled with a deep-rooted desire to remain with the Zarthari, but the conflict within him churned violently. Would the two worlds ever reconcile? As if sensing his turmoil, Narina approached, her gaze steady and understanding. "You wander like a leaf in the wind, Jacob. What troubles you?" I'm torn, Narina," he confessed, his voice trembling. "This place has become a home to me, yet my heart calls me back to Earth. I don't know how to bridge those two worlds." Narina nodded, her expression softening. "It is a natural conflict. You are anchored to your past, but remember, it does not diminish your connection to this present. You belong here, and you can shape both futures." Her words held weight, a truth that resonated deeply with him. He took a deep breath, grounding himself in the moment, as he considered what it would mean to embrace both parts of his life. What if I could help bring our worlds together? Jacob mused, hope igniting within him. "I want to be a bridge, to show humanity the strength we can find in unity." Narina's eyes widened, a spark of admiration illuminating her features. "It is a noble intention, but remember, it will take time. Trust is not easily formed among your people. Many fear us." "I can change that," Jacob asserted. "I can show them how much we can learn from one another." In the days that followed, Jacob began to act on his vision. With the support of the Zarthari, he devised a plan to reach out to the human world. Leveraging his astronaut training, he constructed a makeshift signal device using salvaged materials from his crash. It was primitive, but it carried the essence of his message, a plea for connection. When Jacob activated the device, a sense of fear mingled with anticipation coursed through him. The soft hum echoed, the signal reaching out into the void of space. He hoped for a response, a flicker of understanding from Earth. He longed for the opportunity to share the beauty of the Zarthari with humanity, especially the unshakable bond he had forged with Narina. Days turned into weeks, and as Jacob anxiously watched the skies, glimpses of his former life loomed large, yet they paled in comparison to the warmth building in his chest whenever he caught Narina's gaze. Their bond deepened as they worked side by side, navigating the delicate dance of two cultures blending into one. But as the signal pulses erupted into the silence of space, Jacob also faced the uncertain responses from the Zarthari. Though acceptance had grown among his newfound family, he knew the apprehensions remained. A meeting was called, where he would present his plan to connect their worlds and address fears surrounding humanity. The day arrived, and he stood before the Council of Zarthari, his heart racing as he prepared to speak. The air thickened with anticipation as he laid out his vision, emphasizing the mutual benefits of collaboration, trust, and understanding. He spoke passionately about the symbiosis he could foresee, the potential for futures intertwined rather than adversarial. With Narina standing staunchly beside him, Jacob felt a sense of strength wash over him. As he spoke, the council listened intently, weighing his words. While murmurs of dissent rippled through the group, he also caught glimpses of intrigue, of hope flickering in their eyes. When the council reached the moment of deliberation, Jacob held his breath, fear and hope mingling in his chest. Finally, Narina stepped forward, her presence commanding yet warm. Jacob speaks the truth. We are stronger united than divided by fear. He has proven his worth among us. He did not shy away from danger when faced with the beast that threatened our lives. Let us embrace the possibility he offers. There was silence, then murmurs of acceptance swept through the gathering. One by one, the council members nodded, acknowledging the potential for a united future. In that moment, Jacob felt the weight of centuries of division beginning to lift, an atmosphere of acceptance blanketing them. The air crackled with possibility, and he knew this was a step toward a world where two cultures could learn from each other and stand as allies. With gratitude swelling in his heart, Jacob turned to Narina. Their eyes met in a profound understanding, a silent promise exchanged between them. As they stood together, hands clasped, Jacob realized that his journey was just beginning. The path forward would require patience and perseverance, but he felt a sense of assurance. They would build a bridge, a conduit for knowledge and connection, and perhaps one day, he could take Narina into the stars. With a sense of hope coursing through him, Jacob's heart soared. No longer confined by the weight of his isolation, he embraced the future that awaited them. Together, they would forge a new beginning. The following weeks unfolded with a determined spirit as Jacob and the Zarthari embarked on their journey toward a united future. Each day was imbued with excitement and challenge, as Jacob worked tirelessly alongside Narina and the tribe to fortify their newly built bridge to humanity. The signal device he had constructed was continually improved, becoming a beacon of hope and connection between the two worlds. As the seasons shifted and the lush greenery of the island began to bear the colors of change, Jacob realized how deeply he had woven himself into the fabric of Zarthari society. They welcomed him not just as an ally, but as family, and with each shared meal, laugh, and training exercise, the distance he had once felt as a stranger dissolved into a bond of kinship. Then, one fateful day, Jacob received the long-awaited response from Earth. A flicker of static amidst the transmission, then a familiar voice crackled through. It was Commander Rivers, his mission leader, who had been tirelessly charting Jacob's progress since his crash. "Jacob, we received your distress signal and your message of unity. We're sending a team to meet you." A surge of adrenaline flooded Jacob's veins. The moment he had longed for was finally within reach. Now he could bring the promise of understanding and connection to reality. Facing Narina, he shared the news, excitement illuminating their surroundings. "They're coming. They want to understand what we've built here. I have a chance to bring humanity to you, to show them that coexistence is possible." Narina's eyes sparkled with pride and determination. "We have much to prepare then. We must show them our strength, our culture, and the bond we have formed." With the Zarthari, Jacob planned for their arrival, showcasing the beauty and resilience of their tribe. The beachfront became a gathering point where they erected welcoming symbols, intricate carvings that blended images of human and Zarthari heritage, a tangible representation of unity. When the day finally arrived, A shuttle pierced the alien sky, descending toward the island like a descending star. Jacob's heart raced as he stood beside Narina, flanked by the Zarthari warriors and the council, each wearing a look of fierce determination. As the humans disembarked, Jacob felt the weight of their scrutiny, but also the eagerness to connect. With a voice steadied by hope, he stepped forward to greet them. "Welcome to our home." Commander Rivers was the first to approach, her eyes scanning the verdant landscape before settling on Jacob. "You've done incredible work here," she said, a note of astonishment in her voice. He gestured toward the gathered Zarthari. "Together, we discovered that we are not so different. Let me introduce you to my friends, my family," he said, casting a glance at Narina, who stood resolute at his side. As introductions unfolded, Jacob could feel the barriers begin to crack, the distrust that lay between their two worlds softening under the warmth of shared laughter and respect. Stories were exchanged, ideas flowed freely, and Jacob witnessed the spark of understanding ignite in the eyes of both parties. In that moment, he recognized the profound potential for change. Humanity and the Zarthari stood at the precipice of a new horizon, where fear could transform into knowledge and conflict could fade into camaraderie. Jacob reached for Narina's hand, intertwining their fingers, a gesture symbolizing their own journey. They were no longer individuals from opposing worlds. They were partners in bridging the gap and creating a legacy for future generations. As the sun dipped lower on the horizon, painting the sky with hues of crimson and gold, Jacob knew that this was the beginning of something extraordinary, an alliance that would reshape the galaxy. Together, they turned to face the sunset, their silhouettes united against the vibrant glow, ready to embark on a path of endless possibility. In the melding of cultures and in the embrace of love, they had found their place, not just as humans and Zarthari, but as beings woven together in a new tapestry of life. And with that boundless faith in their shared future, they ventured forth into the vast expanse that awaited, hearts entwined, ready to illuminate the stars.